Hello YouTube, Zippo enthusiast down under here, bringing you guys another video today. This video is going to be focusing on what to do with your brand new Zippo lighter. The first part I guess I'm going to do with this video is if you are collecting a lighter and you have no intention to actually use it for an extended period of time, for example it's just going to sit in your collection on display or up on a shelf with a bunch of other lighters, you'd probably want to remove the flint. Now, in saying that, I've had a lighter sit with a flint in it for more than 10 years and I didn't have any issues with it. I actually pulled it out at the start of this year after being put away in a tin for a very long period of time, probably 13 to 15 years at least. And I didn't actually know about the flint issues back then. And I just simply fueled it up, sparked it up, fired it up, and away it went. Works perfectly. But Zippos have been known to, if sitting for I guess more than 15 years period of time, the flints can sort of break down into a powder form and solidify inside the flint tube. So if you're going to be putting it away for a long period of time, all you want to do is grab your brand new lighter, pull the insert out, remove the flint screw and spring from the bottom of it. It's still a bit tight. Just do that. Now, that's not actually the flint, that's just the follower. There's the flint. Now, what you want to do with that is just simply put it aside for use in another lighter. You don't really have to take any sort of particular care with them. And then put your flint spring back in the case, clean it up, get your fingerprints off it and put it on display. Now the other part of what to do with your brand new lighter is if you are planning on using it every day or at all, you're going to want to check out how the wick runs through it. Now, before I get into this, I've had quite a few of these come and I've actually replaced the wick in my old lighter that had the flint in it for 15 years or whatever. And so I have watched a video by Genuine Zippo on YouTube. They've got an instructional series. I advise anyone to actually go check that out if you feel like it. But they tell you to run the wick a particular way. So they advise you have it sitting flush with the top of the chimney, coming down, and trying to get as much contact with the cotton packing material inside as possible. And the way they say to do it is to kind of run it in an S shape. So you can't use the entire of the insert because of the flint tube, but they do tell you to sort of run it in an S shape through there with cotton packed in between all of those bends. However, when you receive one brand new, the wick's kind of bunched up all up here in the top, folded over itself and only touching like 2 pieces of cotton instead of being spread evenly through there. So I will actually be doing a video on what sort of fuel life you get out of one without rerunning the wick, and if it's much better or how much better it will be when you do rerun it the correct way that they tell you to. So keep an eye out guys, because that one will be coming out. But here we'll get into it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So just pull the felt out and start removing some of the layers of cotton. So there's one. Now you would think that if they're talking about having as much contact with it as possible, you'd see some under the first piece, but you don't. Here's the next piece. Still, you can only just see a piece of the wick touching the side of the insert there. And there it is. All just squashed in the bottom. So we'll go ahead try and pull out this last piece of cotton. Okay, no, sorry, there is one more piece in there. But there's no way that that's got to be the most efficient way to pack it, so I guess that's just saving on time and labor of the staff when they assemble these in the factory. Look at that. Shouldn't look like that. So, what I'm going to show you guys is how to run it the correct way. First of all, you want to take your wick, straighten it out, twist it up so it's nice and tight to get it back through this little hole in the insert. Now it's not just like a cottony sort of material. There is, see those little bits of metal there? Now I believe that they're copper. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they're copper. And I guess the idea of that is to help with feeding fuel out from the insert and up into the wick. And it does this, so when you light it up, it transfers heat down those little wires into the cotton, and obviously temperature is going to help the fuel evaporate, and it will just absorb into the wick and travel up. So that's the idea behind that, but you also can twist it up to make it a bit firmer to reinsert back into the insert, which can be a bit tricky sometimes, but hopefully I can make it look painless here on the video. So you just want to, you can come from either direction. I sort of like to come through the chimney though, because it's a lot shorter than trying to get through there, and it is going to try and resist and bend, and if you've got it held at a shorter distance like this, it's a little bit easier to get it started. So I'll give it a go here. I'll try and get it on camera. And sort of try and twist it the way that you wound it up, I guess. You see that's gone through there quite easily. Now, I'm just going to get it to go a little distance, and then I'm going to pull it in from the bottom. Without pulling it out. Now that I can get a hold of it, I'm just going to pull it through to the height that I want it. Now usually I set them to the top, but I'm going to try something new here with this one. And I'm going to set it about halfway. So I'm just going to pinch it inside the chimney with my finger while I pack the bottom and fold it around the cotton. So what you want to do is you want to have a piece of cotton either side of the wick, right at the very top of the insert. I'm just going to jam this piece down there. I'm going to try and keep it in the center of the cotton. It's easier said than done. Just going to bend it over so it doesn't move on me. Now that's probably can be improved a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to set a piece right down the other side of it up into the top again. Just so that right near the top, it has, like the instructions tell you if you look on the website, so it has a written instruction and there's also a video instruction. You want it to have as much contact with the packing material as possible. So now that they're in there nice and snug, I'm going to fold it once again using my tool, trying to keep it in the center of the cotton. Right over to where the flint tube is. Trying to keep it as center as possible. So here we go, I'm going to put another piece down in on top of that. I'm going to pack it down in there. Then I'm going to take the wick, once again trying to keep it as centered as possible, and simply fold it back over the top, using it to help hold that cotton down in there as well. Trying to go as far as I can to the edge of the insert, like the inside case, without actually touching the edge. Just so that once again we can have the most amount of cotton contacting the wick as we can. And you can see it can be a little bit finicky trying to keep this thing in the middle. I mean, it probably doesn't make that much of a difference, but what we're doing here, no matter how perfect you do it, has got to be better than just filling it up the way that it comes in the mail, or if you bought it from the store for that matter. So I'm just gonna fold this back over. It's actually moved on me a little bit underneath there. There we go. I'm happy with that. It's pretty close to the edge there, but it still has got cotton all around it. So in with the final piece. And they say like, oh, it's best to pay attention to the cotton as you pull it out and try and put it back in the same order, but like, it's cotton. Come on, it's pretty malleable, I guess you'd say. Soft fiber. I've sort of noticed that it does make a bit of a difference though after it's been fueled up a few times. It does go a bit harder. Now just pop your felt pad back over the top of the cotton. Don't forget to pop your flint back in. Now, these all come sort of pre-loved a little bit from the factory as, I guess, part of quality control. So I sort of like to put the side that's already been used back in, leave the flat side to have the follower pushing on it. So unused side up, used side down. In it goes. And back in with the flint spring. Now, finger tight's good enough for these things. They come pretty tight from the factory, which is very unnecessary. I do have a non-genuine Zippo that I actually had managed to over tighten and crack the flint tube. So that's a really good reason not to do them up so tight. Because if you crack that tube, this will never thread back into it again properly. And the lighter that I'm talking about, the crack has actually managed to not just be down where the threads are, but it has gone the entire way up to the top. And the flint doesn't actually sit in there dead straight anymore. It sort of leans over to the side where the crack is. So that's not desirable. But it still does function. All I do with that one is just sort of push the screw back into the loose hole. It does sort of hold on the threads that are there a little bit, but it does not screw in tight. or screw in properly at all, to be honest. And when it's in there, it's got nowhere to go anyway, so pop your insert back in now that we've done all that. Sort of reset the top of the wick to wherever you want it. You can have it up higher or down a little bit. I probably wouldn't have it any less than halfway actually, but the lower down the wick is in the chimney, the less fuel you've got evaporating directly out of the wick at the top, so it does make it more fuel efficient. You can lean the wick more towards the wheel to have a bigger flame anyway, or further away from it, regardless of where your wick height is. And actually, you know what, guys? I will fuel this up here. Give me a second. So I use genuine Zippo fluid, mainly because it's pretty easy to find here where I live in Queensland in Australia, and it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's, I have the sticker on it anywhere, $4.95 Australian. I couldn't be bothered driving further to try and find something cheaper anyway, so. Now a way to fill this up without spilling it all over wherever you're doing it at. Close the little cam spring and drop it upside down in there. So if you do happen to overfill it, if this is your first time filling it, anything will drip out of the wick at the end and stay inside the case. So I'll just lift this felt pad like it says, lift to fill. Don't go filling it up through the felt pad. I mean, you can if you want to, but you're gonna make a mess. And just sort of fill it up gradually. Don't go to completely fill it the first time. Give the cotton a chance to absorb the liquid. And if you see it pooling up there on the inside, you've probably overfilled it. It actually will change colour slightly as you realise at the top of it has absorbed as much fuel as it can. And there we go, I just saw that colour of change of coloration then. That's it. The felt pad back down. When you squeeze that down, it will force out any excess fluid. And this stuff is a skin irritant, guys, so might not hurt the tip of your finger too bad, but don't go rubbing your eye with it straight away. Flip it back around. Pop it in. Drop the cam. And you are ready to go. Now, I'm just sort of going to wipe my fingers off. I'll give the lighter a bit of a wipe too. Just so don't go making a fireball on my video here. Important, remove your fuel container away from the source of fire. And let's see how it goes. Perfect, a little bit of excess in the lid there. That'll go away very quickly. And that's how easy it should be to get your lighter working too. So, set your wicks up correct, guys. If you are storing it for a long period of time, pull the flint out. Save yourself some trouble, like a decade down the road, mind you, if that's what you're doing. And yeah, enjoy your lighter, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure if you liked the video, if you found it informative, to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel too to catch any of my upcoming videos. I will be doing a comparison of the lighters that have been rerouting the wicks versus ones that still have it all bunched up in the top. Probably take me 2 weeks or so to do that, because this will last over a week. I expect one that I don't do that with to not last very long, maybe a few days, so probably 2 weeks before I get back to you guys with that video. And I've also got a video coming out about when to refill your lighter. So the way that these work, mind you, I'll just briefly say this, is the wick is not designed to burn. It evaporates fuel around it and it forms like a kind of fuel gas cloud around it, which ignites. So as soon as the gas starts to run out, or the fluid starts to run out, and it's not producing enough of that gas around the wick will start to burn. And as it chars up, it's obviously going to let less fuel evaporate through the wick. So when you notice your fuel is running low, refill it straight away. You'll save your wick. It will last you so much longer. And you'll get the most life you can out of your lighter. And that's what everyone wants with one of these. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.